All right, let's try to do this again. Um, we'll give it a second, see if everybody gets back on. I apologize. It just kept cutting out, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. All right, so we'll just do the video. We'll start off where we was. So in October, middle of October, the first thing is whenever you're looking at deer season as a whole. Okay, early season, like we just talked about with the velvet deer and stuff, they start losing their velvet. They start going into rut. They start chasing does, trying to find that doe that's in heat. And when that happens in the middle of October, you're wanting to be the first doe that's in heat. Those bucks are going crazy, and that's why we push, using. It doesn't matter whose scent you use. If they're a reputable company and they do good, use somebody's doe and heat scent. If you're an early season bow hunter, try to figure out when that that 1 week is in there that and it may take you a while to figure out when that is, because before you know it, it's come and gone, and it's real quick. So the biggest thing that we talk about is figure out, you're going to have to use trail cameras. There's a lot of other tools that help you with this. So if you got a camera on your mock scrape and your bucks, you're seeing more activity at the scrapes, you're seeing a lot more activity chasing. That doesn't mean the does are in heat. Whenever we're out here and we're running does through, we'll have a lot of does that are not in heat, but those bucks are in the pens and they are chasing. They're running them and they're trying to figure out, where that doe in heat is. Okay. It may be outside the pen. There may be one just coming in. But that is the biggest thing, is if you're an early season bow hunter, there's a few days in there and everybody says, oh, it's the moon phase. Well, they figured out another product to sell, is how I feel. They're really, going after a certain market. They're trying to push their products. And the thing is whenever you are hunting, I like to use everything as natural as I can possibly use. Okay. So, cover scents and stuff like that. I like all natural cover scents, like, cedar scents and stuff like that, stuff that you can spray on, and it's not, it's not out of a box. It's not something man-made. It's not a man-made scent. It's something that they've actually, tested, and it smells like cedar. It smells like this. I mean, they got so many different things out there right now, but you can use all that stuff and that helps. But our thing is use as many natural things as you can use. I get, people hunt over bait, people hunt over all these other things. I feel that, bait hunting isn't a bad thing. Who cares? I mean, everybody's got their own things that they do, but I feel that it draws more deer in at night. Okay. So if you're drawing more deer in at night and you're not able to get on a buck, it does you no good, or if you come in and you've noticed that, well, my whole corn pile is gone and nothing has come in from the time you gotten in the stand to the time you're leaving. Well, the corn is, you're feeding them deer, but you're not doing what you need to do to get it there during daylight. And the rut is the biggest and the most important time for somebody. If you're really wanting to shoot a nice buck, the rut is obviously the best time to do that, because they're chasing. They chase all day long. There's no time frame when they can come through. The pattern, you just throw it out the window. So that's why I say scent is by far, I feel, one of the biggest things you can use to get a buck or multiple deer in your area during daylight hours. Okay, so if you're using scent, like I said, you got to find that 1 week in October, sometimes 2 weeks in October, depending on how fast does are going in and out of heat, and the scent that we're using. That's the other thing. If you can use buck scent, you can use doe scent. But the in heat scent, if you're the first doe in an area to be in heat, you can actually, if you got a camera, that's the best thing to do, is put a camera over your mock scrape, start pouring the in heat scent in it. And, if you have a reveal or something, along those lines, you're getting those pictures throughout the day. You're getting those pictures at night. You can start to see when they're in that area. But a lot of times, a lot of bucks, if you are using scent and another doe starts to come into heat, she's going to pull him from you. So as soon as you start seeing them deer coming on camera on your reveal or whatnot, start using your mock scrape a lot more, that you're in that period, you're in that time frame, because it will become less and less once other does start coming into heat. I hope that makes sense for everybody. So if you're, like I said, if you're the first doe that's in heat and you're pouring it into your mock scrape and a buck really starts to use that mock scrape, that's when you need to be in the woods. Okay, that's when you need to go out. That's when you need to be in the stand, you know, as many times as you can possibly get there. You know, but once you start to see you're still using the in heat deer doe urine, once you start to see that to start to slip off and those bucks aren't using it as much, it's not because you're not using the right scent. It's because the bucks are finding other does that are in heat. So now the biggest thing becomes, like I said, in my opinion, the biggest things now go from using doe in heat to using our dominant buck lures, what we use, or the rutting buck type lure. And if you're using the rutting buck, it becomes a fight. Okay, so now you went from, okay, I'm the first doe in heat, to I am a mature buck in this area looking for does in heat. And any of the other mature bucks that are in the area, they're not going to like that. So there's a transition period there that we feel, and like I said, you know, our dominant buck comes from bucks that are actually rutting. Okay, mature bucks that are actually rutting. And I hope that's where most people are getting any type of rutting buck scent that they're using. But the biggest thing is you know, watching your cameras. Okay, so when you're putting this out in your mock scrapes, and then you switch from doe in heat to buck, watch your cameras, get a good idea of, okay, so is the buck, now that I'm using buck dominant buck lure, am I seeing more of the bucks? Am I seeing more? That will give you an idea of if you're holding deer, more bucks on your area. A lot of times, you know, there's a lot of different things. A lot of times you'll have people this time of year also, they're pouring out corn, you know, and I know in Missouri, you know, the conservation department, they I don't know, that's a whole other story. But the conservation department doesn't want us pouring corn out. They don't want us, you know, putting anything out there that, you know, this is not going to make any sense to anybody, but that makes sense to them. Putting anything out there that brings a herd of deer together. Okay, so if you're pouring corn out and you're using your dominant buck lure, you're using doe scent, and you're not getting the results that you think you should be getting, a way to kind of judge this is, you know, are you seeing it about, okay, so let's say that you put out the deer scent, and all of a sudden you're getting a lot of deer, a lot of does coming in, they're peeing in your scent, or in the scrape. Bucks are coming in, they're rubbing all over the area, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Okay, but then in a week from now, they're all back and they're using your stuff again. Okay, this is a very hard time of year for people to understand that just because you're using deer scent, there's a lot of other factors going into it that the deer scent may not be working. Okay, if there's multiple does in the area, and then all of a sudden somebody pours out a bag of corn, and all those does go to where the corn is, well, those bucks are going to do the same thing. Okay, so just because you're not seeing any bucks, you know, this isn't a Drury farm. This isn't Lukowski. You know, you're hunting. Most of the people in my area are hunting 40-acre lots. You know, so if you're hunting 40-acre plots and the guy next to you pours out a bag of corn, well, of course all the deer are going to go over there. So, you know, just because you're not getting no pictures, or just because you put out this or that and nothing's coming into it, doesn't mean it don't work. It means that you've been overpowered by a bag of corn. Okay, so just because you're not getting the results you want, that's why you got to check your cameras. That's why you got to keep coming back to the cameras, because if you're going a week without seeing anything really at all, maybe a deer just coming through, and then all of a sudden they're at your place constantly, well, that's my opinion. It's most likely because somebody has poured out a bag of corn, and that's the reason why you're not getting the results. Royal Basketball 123, hey man, how you doing? We appreciate you getting on. If you guys got any questions, put them down below. You know, like I said, we will answer anything you guys got. We appreciate everybody getting on. This is great. I think we had up to 16 people at one time. I'm sure that there's other channels that have a whole lot more. But yeah, yeah, no, we appreciate you guys getting on. But yeah, no, we're just trying to get on, kind of make our presence on here. We're going to start doing this every Saturday. So if you guys want to jump on a Saturday and ask us questions about what we're doing, if you have any questions about deer scent or anything like that, or if you have any questions about you know, what's going on in Missouri, maybe you're hunting Missouri this year and you got questions, you want to know something about, you know what the weather's going to look like, or what we're seeing, you know, EHD wise. We haven't seen a whole lot of anything this year, but it just now started getting really hot for long periods. So hopefully nothing like that happens to us. You know, EHD is just kind of a hit or miss thing in Missouri. You know, some farms get it, some farms don't. But you know, anything you guys got, like I said, you just ask us. We'd be happy to get with you. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like I said, we're doing everything we can. There's yeah, deer season's going to be here real soon, and we appreciate everybody. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you coming and getting on. If you got any questions, like I said, just get with us. We're on TikTok and we're on Instagram. So if you haven't